really
organized.
like your idea.
Uh,
I really like your idea that you wanted to start a program for entrepreneurs.
yes.
That's very nice because I think that will benefit a lot of people.
Hmm.
And yeah,
That's I've actually structured it around the BI triangle. Kiyosaki has something called the BI triangle. Have you heard of it?
no, what is it?
All right. So that's a very interesting concept
Uh-huh.
because it talks about the 8 integrities a business should have, which means it talks about 8 definite topics that should be covered in, let's say, that should be covered in balance to
Mhm.
form the perfect triangle using which is required for business. Vicky, have you heard of it? The BI triangle?
To be honest, I don't remember a
All
lot
right,
of
that's fine.
things from the books, and yeah, and I okay,
No, the
and
reason why I
I
asked is so if
I remember the
most
BI triangle, but I can't explain.
all right, yes, yes,
Like the
go
Robert
ahead.
in the Robert Kiyosaki's YouTube channel, that yeah just described the BI triangle, but I didn't remember what he really said. Like there was something like leadership, target, cash flow, and these stuffs, but I can't remember those things now.
All right. So since most of us haven't heard of it, I can explain that because this is going to be a definite requirement. I mean, it is not only in terms of business or entrepreneurship, but it's also required for anyone who takes initiative. So if you are someone who takes initiative, if you are someone who wants to build something part time, full time, it doesn't matter. But the whole point of financial education is so that you can improve your financial IQ. And once you improve your financial IQ, that is definitely going to reflect on how we handle our investments, how we handle our capital, how we utilize our resources. So it is going to cover a lot of things. Financial education, as such, is going to cover a lot of things. And for that reason, uh, the BI triangle is going to help every one of us to apply financial education in our daily life. So I'll run you through. I hope, Vicky, are you sure? Who joined and left? Harsh. Harsh is not able. Harsh is not back. If Harsh is joining, then I would like to start after he joins.
no,
He is not in
he's
the
not.
waiting room.
Yes, he's not in the
Uh,
waiting,
all right. Okay. All right. So
or I
let's.
didn't see him, so I don't know.
That's all right. If you didn't see him, he is not here. No worries. So, all right. Let me. All right. So, okay, I'm not good at using the white space on Zoom, so I'll just go ahead and use the whiteboard, which is right next to me. I keep this on a regular basis, so whenever I have a thought, whenever I have an idea, or whenever I brainstorm with myself, I write down stuff over here. So I'm gonna put that down. Uh, so there's this triangle. I hope it's clear. You can see the triangle. So in the first business integrity that Kiyosaki mentions. So what he means by business integrity is business integrity is one portion of your business which you cannot avoid at all. So if there is something that you cannot avoid from a business, if there is something that is an integral part of your business, something that cannot be ignored, or something that um, uh, cannot uh, cannot be seen with less importance. If you cannot lower the importance of something uh, in your business, that is these 8 things that he says is happening. So the first one is mission. So he says there are three basic integrities, or there are three most important ones, and there are 5 other smaller or less important ones, or the next step. So the first one is the mission of the business, or in personal terms, it would be our personal mission, what we want to achieve in life, um, what we aim for in life, or if it is in the context of a company or in the context of a business, then it is going to be what is the mission of the business. So I'll put that here. So that's mission over there. Now, how do you find the mission? What this is okay, let's not go into that at the moment, because that's a very vast topic, and I've been researching more in the current context, because in the current context a lot of things are being redefined, especially with restrictions in travel, restrictions in delivery systems, restriction, I mean, it's not restrictions as such, it is redefining of these systems. So the first thing is mission. Let's put that down there. Then there is going to be the leadership. So leadership basically means the entrepreneur, or the person who comes up with the idea, the person who is the one person, or the um, one top set of people. If it is a business, then there could be more than one leaders, but it is a team of people, or it is one person who makes the decisions. So it's basically representing the decision makers. So that's leadership, which is an integral part of a business. So every business, every person should have uh all right, okay, all right. We see a chat site here. So every mission, every business, every individual has to have a mission and has to have a decision making capability. And in fact, one of the reasons why we go into financial education itself is so that we improve our decision making capability, our ability to make decisions related to our financial status or financial progress. Let's put it here. So there's the mission, there's leadership. Now the third integrity, which is very, very important, is the team. So there's a team. So there's the mission, there's the leadership, then there's a team. So if these three are there, that is the beginning of something worthwhile or something important. In fact, if you look at it uh, in the individual perspective, it is going to be my personal mission, or what makes me happy, what makes me uh, what I have clarity of thought about. Like, say, my intention, my mission is to help other people. So when I plan to help other people, I can do it in probably many different ways. One of the ways being part of a community like the Cashflow Club, or it is like creating training programs. like the entrepreneurship program that I'm working on right now, or it could be like creating a business opportunity where other people could franchise it, or a business idea where people could franchise it, which means they also get to do business along with me. They also get to share profits along with me. So there is always an opportunity. If you identify your mission, there is always an opportunity to take different paths which can lead to the fulfillment of that mission. So if you are looking at it that way, then we come to the next integrity, which is, if you have the mission, if you have the leadership, you have the team in place. Now, in the individual sense, the team would be the closest people around us, people who motivate us, people who encourage us, people who help us, people who support us. So, people who are a part of everything that we do, or people who are uh, interested in our well-being. So that's team. That's our team. So there's the mission, which is the direction of the business. There is the leadership, which is the decision making capability of the business. There is the team, which is the ability to execute the mission by the business. Now let's look at the next integrity, which is the, now if we have all three of these, then the next thing that you need is the product. Okay, so a product is nothing but a way, a direction to fulfill the mission. So unless you have a mission, you cannot have a product. If I have the idea of helping people, then I can assume that training is a way of helping people, or sharing financial information, sharing things about what I learned, what I discovered, what I understood from different situations. This sharing this becomes my product. Right now, what I'm speaking, what I've learned about the BI triangle is my product. And that is one way of helping others, by sharing of information. Let's see, Shivam has messaged. All right, okay. Okay. All right, so he will join in half an hour, and then probably we can. So that tells me I have only about 30 minutes to complete this, so I will rush through. There's a lot of information here.
Feel
All
free
right.
to speak and to share your knowledge, Lee. We always, it's pleasure to hear what you want to say and what you have to say. So don't think like this is punishment. This is really joyful for all of us. So yeah.
Why I say that, Vicky, is because one of the most important things that as an entrepreneur I have realized is the ability to communicate. Now, I did not come to this meeting planning to share about the BI triangle, but why did we start? Why did we even come to this BI triangle? I don't remember what led us to this BI triangle. But when we start thinking about the BI triangle, or when it comes as part of the conversation, I try to communicate this one. Communication is such an important, very crucial part of an entrepreneur's journey. And this is one of the reasons why I would like everyone to participate in the discussions, because every time we speak up, every time we uh, collect our thoughts. In fact, I have a theory for that also, which I've included in my training material,
Mhm.
which is think, reason, and speak. Think, reason, and communicate. Every meaningful communication is based on that. So you have to think, or you have to collect your thoughts. You have to collect information. You have collected a lot of information over a long period of time, and you have stored it in different parts of your brain under different tags, under different labels. And each of these labels is there until you want to access it. So when you want to access it, and there is an opportunity to speak about it, then you have to go and collect all this information. Then you have to bring everything together. Once you bring everything together, then you have to assemble that information. Then you have to put everything in order, and then you have to find a logic that connects all this information together. You connect all this information together, and then you have to decide on what is the best way to communicate it, what is the best uh, approach to communicate it to the audience who are going to listen to this information, who are going to listen to this collection, who are going to listen to this assembly of information.
Mhm.
So once you decide on that, then then that is when you deliver it. That is when you speak or you communicate, you write, your facial expressions change, your tone of your voice changes, your actions, your gestures are also a reflection of that. Now there is, I have another set of information where why I use gestures. If you watch me, I use my hand movements, my head movements a lot, and this is related to something that I learned from a technique called neuro linguistic programming, NLP for short. And this is a very huge area. And one of the ways to communicate is to be graphic in your expressions, which means you use a lot of actions which communicates to a certain set of people. There are three kinds of people who accept communication. They are visual people, they are auditory people, and there are kinesthetic people. So to communicate to visual people, you need diagrams like this. You need figures, you need pictures, you
Mhm.
need demonstrations. So visual people, they see and they understand. They learn by understanding. They absorb by seeing. Yeah, they learn by seeing, not when you speak. Hi Shivam, thank you for joining. Nice to have you around.
Hey, hi. Sorry, guys. I actually kind of thought it's 11:30 my time. I think half an hour misplaced there. I went for I wanted one book to borrow from outside. So yeah, sorry, but yeah,
All right.
uh,
Welcome. We've been waiting for you. Anyway,
yeah.
I will leave some
Looks
time for
like
you as well.
actually looks like some interesting talk is going on though.
All right.
What's
We
going on?
will.
Yeah.
I will just finish this and then we will move to stocks and discussions.
Sure, sure.
Sanchit here is very interested in stocks, and I think he was talking about some candlestick patterns or something like that. Okay, I have
Yeah.
no clue.
I'm
I know
actually more
what it
interested
is.
toward your diagram I'm seeing actually behind you.
All right.
Want to
Okay,
know
that's
what
the
diagram?
BI triangle we've been discussed. That's where we started our discussion. All right, let's go back to, I will finish this NLP, then come back to communication, and then we will go to this BI triangle, back to this BI triangle, because communication is also part of the BI triangle. And that is the reason why I would like everyone to develop communication skills
Hmm.
as part of your financial education journey, because this is something that I have seen very effective. And of course, Kiyosaki always talks about sales. And sales is one of the most important skills that the entrepreneur should develop. Right. Okay. So coming back to, oh, running out of 40 minutes already. Okay. All right. 30 minutes already. All right. So so in NLP, we say, okay, there are visual people who understand by seeing, by pictures and demonstrations and all that. There are other people who are auditory people. Auditory people, they always communicate. They always understand things when they listen to it. So they hear a lot of stuff. If you give them a recording, of a lecture, they will listen to it, they will be able to understand, they form pictures in their mind because they listen very carefully to this information. So that's my kind of person, you know. I listen to a lot of stuff. I draw pictures when as I'm listening to someone speak. So I convert these into visual information in my mind, but I learn by hearing. So that's Ben, for example, our very good friend Ben. He listens to a lot of audio books. So he listens to these books while he is traveling. So he is also an auditory kind of person. So he listens to stuff and he learns stuff. There are other people who are kinesthetic people. Now, kinesthetic people, they understand through expressions, emotions. They connect with emotions. These are people who, if they get a scent of a perfume, they enjoy it immensely. So the auditory person, the visual person, they don't really care much about these kind of things like a scent. For me, as a person, I really don't care whether I use a perfume, a deodorant, or something like that or not. Very rarely I've used this until someone actually pointed out to me, and that person who was my boss at that time, he was a very kinesthetic person. And you know how you can identify these kinesthetic people? Very easy to identify these people. So when you see them smell a perfume, they will be, ah, beautiful, beautiful. They close their eyes, they enjoy, they savor it. When they see food, they savor it. They even the sight of food, even they feel the food when they see the food. When you talk to them, they will touch you. They will touch you when they talk to you. When you have a conversation, they will touch you. They are reassured by the touch. So everyone has a few behavioral patterns which we can use as a sales, to increase or improve the ability to sell to that person, to communicate to that person. And this is why communication, or NLP, is important in communication. And how communication is important in the BI triangle, we will definitely come to that. Okay, so we were at product before we got diverted to communication, and we went into communication because we want everyone to participate in the discussion. So here goes. We will go to product. So that is the first business integrity after mission, leadership, and team. So once we have mission, leadership, and team, then the next thing that the team and the leadership should create based on the mission is the product, because the product is a way to realize or to bring into reality the mission. After the product, once you have the product, once you have the product idea, the design, the prototype, or whatever it is, so once you have this ready, then the next business integrity you need is legal. Now, why legal? Because you have the product, you need to protect your product. Now, there are different ways of protecting your product. The first way of protecting your product is to make sure that this mission, leadership, and team are synchronized, communicating with each other. The structure of the business is perfect in a way that it does justice to the mission and it does justice to the product. So you need that. Plus, what else do you need for legal? You need copyright protection. You need patents. You need trademarks. You need to bring in your ability, all your ability, to make sure that the product remains within this triangle. It doesn't go into somebody else's triangle, basically. All right. So once you have product, then you have legal systems, including the company structure. Everything is under the legal system. Then you need systems. Then you need systems. Why systems? Because we know the cash flow quadrants, right? The employee, small business owner, and investor. So we have the ESBI or the cash flow quadrants. Now, on this side of the quadrants, on this side, I don't have another color of marker with me, otherwise I would have used a different color. So on this side, everything is person centric. The employee, he works, he gets money. The small businessman, he goes to work every day, only that he owns his work, but he goes to work every day and he makes his money. He earns his revenue from his own work, his own involvement in work. Now, this is what happens on this side or the left side of the cash flow quadrant. Now, on the right side of the cash flow quadrant, what happens is the business owner, Bill Gates, he can just relax, run his charity, and stay out of Microsoft. But Microsoft will continue to function even when Bill Gates is not part of Microsoft. Apple, Steve Jobs, he is no more. But what he has left behind, the Apple company still survives, still continues to grow because it is based on a system, not on the founder, not on Steve Jobs. It is not in the shadow of Steve Jobs. Rather, Steve Jobs is remembered as the founder of Apple. Now, every big business, every business that is scalable, every business that can grow, every business that can expand. Now, the key word here is scalable. So if you have a system, then you can replicate it. If you have a burger stand, you cannot replicate it. But if you have McDonald's, you already have a replica of the original McDonald's, because the system of McDonald's was replicated through the franchise. Every time they made a they made a change in McDonald's, it went to every other McDonald's. So there is homogeneity or uniformity across all McDonald's, which means your experience when you go to one McDonald's cannot be different from your experience when you go to the next McDonald's. Now, this is the power of the system. So it does not matter whether you produce in China and sell in the US or you produce in Japan and sell in the US. It doesn't matter. Everywhere the product quality remains the same because the system that produces the product is the same everywhere. So if you have a system, and you should have systems for distribution, you should have systems for research, you should have systems for sales, you should have systems for after sales, you should have systems for accounting, you should have systems for marketing, you should have systems for new product development or acquisitions. So you should have different systems which can take forward the mission through the product under the leadership and the participation of the teams. Now you see how it is integrated together. So this is why it is called business integrity. Okay, now this is the last minute. So I don't want to go into the next one. The next, good. All right, so you can hear me now. All right, so the next integrity. Now this is where we were when you joined us, Shiva. And the next integrity is communication. Now, you should notice the order in which it falls, because I think this is very beautiful because first thing that you need is the mission, then you need the leadership to go along with it. The leadership should start building the team, and once you have the team in place, then you can go to the product, because without the team, the product development itself would not happen. And once you have the product, you have to protect the product because through the legal systems that are available. And once you have the protection on the product, that means you have complete control over everything until the product. And if you have control, then you can just go ahead and establish systems which will take the product forward. And once you have the systems in place, once you have the ability to replicate or duplicate uh, your systems in different places, different or multiply your systems, which means you are able to scale it up, you are able to expand, you are able to produce more based on the market that you are developing. So the next thing then is communication. Now communication happens internally and externally. Now the kind of communication that happens internally, now this is a huge subject. I've already collected so much of material on this, so I will not go into a lot of it right now, because then this whole meeting could go on just like that. But the point is, you need to communicate. Now there is a communication that happens between the leadership and the team. So this communication is also important, and equally important is the communication that happens from the team to your customer or to your prospect, to your market, to your audience. Now, remember once, sometime back, we used to talk about the kind of stakeholders that every business has. So we will not go into that again, not today. But the point is that communication has to happen internally and externally. And both of these kind of communications have to be developed. Now, I will also tell you why all these integrities are important. But this communication has to be developed in such a way that there is clarity, because the whole point of communication is to have clarity first. Then you can have more ideas flowing, then you can have a lot of improvement happening. So it is, if you want to progress and if you want to have better communication, then the whole point is to have clarity in your communication. Now the last thing, the last business integrity is surprising, isn't it? The last business integrity is cash flow. Now, the reason the cash flow is the last in the business integrity is because naturally the first thing that comes to our mind, the first thing that we want to that we think of when we think of a business or something that where a product is involved, the first thing that comes to our mind is it takes money to make more money. It takes money to make more money. It takes there is a if you don't have money, then you will not be able to create these kind of things, or you will not, if you do not have a regular source of income, then you will not be able to go ahead and do all these things out in the market. You will not be able to build something without money. This is what we are taught, or this is what we hear every day. But here, cash flow is the last business integrity that Kiyosaki talks about, or Rich Dad talks about, because it is after all these integrities that you will actually see some cash flow. Until then, it is not cash flow, it is only expenses. So all these, definitely they cost money, but if they cost money, those are all expenses. It is only here after we start the communication, after communication happens, that is when there is some cash flow that we see that happens in the business. Now, if you connect it with real life, communication is so important, because it is only after communication that you even get appointed in a job. If you want a job, just here, right here in the employee segment, if you want a job, the first thing that you have to do is to talk to someone. The next thing that you have to do is to prepare a resume. Then you have to share this resume with your potential employers. And then you have to go in for an interview. You have to speak, communicate, perform in the interview, and then you would be selected as a part of the company. Then you would be part of somebody else's team, but definitely part of a team. You would be part of somebody else's business integrity. Now, even to be part of somebody else's business integrity, there is communication involved. So after that communication happens successfully, to add on, after that communication happens successfully, then you will have your first salary, which means you will generate your revenue. So everything happens after communication. So communication, the right communication is so important, which is the reason why in these meetings I keep encouraging all of us to participate, to communicate. It does not matter whether it is the right thing or the wrong thing. This is a platform where we can communicate with each other, and communication builds our ability to create cash flow. All right, so that's the BI triangle. This is Kiyosaki's BI triangle. I claim no credit except the ability to, except having built up the ability to communicate this to all of you. Now, why is the BI triangle important? Now, this is the last point before I hand over to Shivam, and then we will have the continuation of the stock studies. I will have the continuation of the stock studies that Shivam is going to share with me. All right. So why is this important? Now, this is important because unless it is perfectly balanced, there is not going to be a triangle. Unless we have a clear understanding of how much is required, what kind of development is required, unless we understand which area of our integrities, of our 8 integrities, we need to improve, which area of which of the business integrities we have to we need help on, it will not be a triangle. It will be something else. It would be in a different shape. Now, the concept is to bring it into a perfect triangle, which means we have to understand what is required, what is sufficient, what is too much, where we need to balance, and how we need to balance it. Now, this is very important when it comes to creating a perfect BI triangle. Otherwise, everyone has their own triangle. This is what Rich Dad says. Everyone has their own triangle, but how good is your triangle? How perfect is your triangle? How balanced is your triangle? Now, this is where we need an understanding of all these business integrities. And once we have this understanding, we can evaluate and bring our triangle into a perfect shape. Right. So that is the significance of the BI triangle. And I don't remember, I still can't recall why we started this topic on the BI triangle, but I'm glad we discussed this. And this is this is where I'm collecting more information on. So in the entrepreneurship program, this can be covered in a great detail. Probably I probably start a business, start another group for just like our Cashflow Club, would form another group for entrepreneurship and people who are interested in entrepreneurship. So we can discuss these topics more. All right, Shivam, I'm done here
Yes,
and
I
I'm
have a question.
dying to hear from you.
Yeah, Liju, I have one small actually request before we continue there. Actually, I want to know, do you have any example, any real life example where we can just kind of use this as a, like a model? You can give us a model, real life example, or any, just to take in any product, or just explain us through that process quickly, like just like basically I understood that product is required, legal is required, systems requires us that. uh, for me as a communication guy, I need an example for a particular product, so I have to visualize properly. Let's say there might be some product or service they have, and how basically each one went through it
All right,
quickly. Yeah, summarized it.
let's no, let's do this.
Hmm.
Let's take a product that you are familiar with and let's analyze it. I think it will be a good exercise for everyone,
Yes,
so
that will be.
everyone can participate as well. So what would you want to take up? Would you want to, anything simple is also fine, complicated is could be. Let's take a burger for example.
So let's actually, Lijo, let's give the San and I don't know the next one to chance first. I have lots of idea. Okay, so don't worry about it. But yeah, let's see
All
if
right,
they have any idea. Otherwise, I will give you some idea, or we can take. Of
okay,
course, burger is the last one.
okay. All right, no problem. I just wanted to make it simple so
Yeah.
that everyone can participate in the product, in the discussion.
Yeah, Susan,
Go
do
ahead.
you have any
What?
idea, any product you might have thinking about, or maybe any observations you have made in some past year or month, where we can actually, maybe something you want to start as an entrepreneur or something like that.
Okay. See, when you want to start something,
Hmm.
you will definitely go through all these business integrities, but it will take some time to balance these integrities into a successful business or a successful venture. All
Hmm.
right. But why I wanted to pick a product which is already in the market is so that we can see how these integrities are in action, how these integrities are working.
Can we take
Uh,
that is like, I don't know if San and we want to give any idea, or otherwise what can we take is some service based. Actually, my industry is mostly, software related. So I see lots of, like, product is mostly a software related software. Is it possible that
okay.
Microsoft, if you guys are familiar with
Let's
any,
take Microsoft.
yeah, let's take Microsoft.
Let's take Microsoft.
Okay,
Okay. Just give me a second.
sure.
Sorry. My nephew was here. So he wanted something from me. So I had to give him a little bit of attention.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's take Microsoft.
Mm.
All right. Now let's look at each and every integrity
Mm.
and discover how these integrities have participated in the success of Microsoft.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yes.
All right. So I will take this out. And I'm going to erase this, but I will list it down from top to bottom. All right. So the first integrity is mission. Now, sorry, okay, it went off like in a tangent. Okay, I'm sure you don't care. That's right. So let's look at the first integrity, which is the mission. Now, All right, I have to go. Oh, that's a pity. All right, okay. All right, Queen. Can you put me back as a host, or are you still the host, or okay? Can
Which
you make
one?
me the?
Yes.
All right, okay. The one without
This one?
without the video,
Okay, sorry.
right? Okay, all right. No, I will have to make the person,
Yeah,
the
now
other
you
one, the
have.
host.
Sorry. I
No worries.
already click on you on
No
the
problem. No
wrong
problem.
queue.
That's all
Okay,
right.
see you
I
guys next
will.
time, and so sorry about this.
No worries. We'll see you next time. We'll miss you.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you.
Bye.
All right. So, okay. Do you want to quickly go to the website Microsoft.com and check the mission? What does it say?
Mission of Microsoft. Let's check it out.
Yes.
Our mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more.
All right. So it is basically the mission. Basically, is productivity. Correct. So increasing productivity is their mission. Microsoft has a mission of increasing productivity. Okay, this is bothering me so much, so I will rub it and I will make it straight. All right. So the mission is productivity. Now, the founders or the leadership. All right. Next is the leadership. So the next business integrity is leadership, or it is the vision of the leadership that takes the company forward in a particular direction in the mission. So let's look at leadership. We have Bill Gates, and then we had a few other people who were all part of the leadership. So basically, their vision was quite strong enough to take the company up to where the systems could be established, right? So, because until the system is established, the leadership cannot take a break. Until the system is in place, where it is, see, in the ESBI, the failure or the inability of an entrepreneur to scale his business is when he stops here. But successful entrepreneurs, they build systems. See, this transition from small business to a big business happens because of a system. The system is the only thing that can push you from a small business to a big business, or a business where the leadership or the founders, the entrepreneur, can be independent of the business day-to-day activities of the business itself. All right, so now that is the significance of the leadership, especially in the when you are starting up. So you have the leadership, which was quite. In fact, I remember reading somewhere this Bill Gates started when he was something like 19 or something. He started Microsoft, and when he faced some financing issues, he said, "Let's go ahead, let's buy a bank, let's invest in a bank, and let's buy a bank so we don't have any more trouble with financing." So there was that kind of a vision, the big picture, is the ability to think wide. So that was the power. I started at 19 years. Yes. Thank you, Sanchit, for reconfirming that. So that was the leadership. Now let's look at the team. Now we can't say he built a bad team, because this team is the one that has brought this one. So, there is no point in discussing about it, but having the right people is one thing. The ability of the leadership to maintain that team, to hold the team together. Now, there is this book by Sidney Sheldon. It is called The Master of the Game. I've mentioned this before. I don't know if you remember this or you were part of that meeting, Shivam, but Sanchit was definitely not there. This was one of those olden days. And there is this book by Sidney Sheldon called The Master of the Game. And this is a book which is very specifically, very clearly talking about some of the corporate stories, some of the methods of the corporate world, which happens in the background of a family business. But regardless of what happens in the story, the point is, there is a manager, there is a manager who calls a meeting. There is a general manager who calls a meeting of several other managers, and he makes decisions based on the information that these divisional managers or departmental heads they bring forward. But when he gets this information, he doesn't just make favorable decisions based on what the information they say. Sometimes he makes decisions against them. So there's this young lady who is the owner of the business. She asks this GM, the general manager, why do you make decisions against these managers? Are these managers not good people? Are they not capable people? Are they not people who know their job? Don't they know their job? So this GM, he says, they know their job for sure. They are very talented people. But each manager sees his division as the center of the world, as the center of the company. And that is exactly how it should be for that manager. But someone has to see the big picture. Someone has to see the good of the overall company. And that is the reason, then, because I see that as a general manager, that is the reason why I make decisions which sometimes may not favor them. This is important, that the leadership sees the information that the team has, or the coordination of the team, or different teams for that matter. They bring everything together and create that one, under that one mission. Now, if the mission is compromised, then the team is of no good and the leadership has failed. So to keep the team, to use the abilities of the team and to create something that will carry the mission forward, that will make the mission effective. And this is the responsibility of the leadership. This is the responsibility of the leadership, to integrate the team, the activities and the skills and the abilities and the resources that the team creates into the mission. All right. So let's look at the next one, which is product. Now, Microsoft, all products are based on productivity, which is very clear because the product justifies the mission, right? So there's software, and this justifies the productivity. They want everyone to have the kind of productivity. Our mission is to empower each person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Definitely, their product, which is a software that they produce, is helping a lot of people achieve more, which is the basic mission of the company. The product has to be aligned with the mission. Now, this is where the integrity comes in. So the product has to be aligned with the mission, and the product has to fulfill the mission. So here we have that. Then we have legal. If you want to know about the legal systems that Microsoft has put in place, don't worry, just try copying one of their software. Just try some piracy, and you will know how well Microsoft has protected their product, how concerned they are about developing legal systems, or creating legal systems that protect their product. That is the legal system. They have copyrights, they have patents, they have trademarks, they have all the works, everything that covers their product, everything that protects their product. Now, the legal system, the whole idea of the legal system is to protect the product and to protect the mission, because the mission is the company. If the company does not have a proper structure, then if the legal structure of the company is not great, then the company will definitely fall apart. The team will clash with the leadership will clash within themselves, and it will fall apart. So the legal systems are quite important to protecting the mission, or protecting the company, and it is also important to protect the product. Now, once the next business integrity is systems. Now look around and see how many systems Microsoft has established. They already have an online system which can handle sales. They also have an offline system, which is through a network of distributors and network of resellers, partners, Microsoft certified partners, Microsoft gold partners, silver partners, platinum partners. So they have a whole huge lot of different structures, which is all creating systems where they can copy one system in one location into another market, one system in one market, adapt it in another market with minimum effort, which means they do not spend time and resources to recreate the systems. Rather, they only copy and paste, just like how their software does. They copy and paste in different markets. And that is the fastest way they can expand and scale their business. Now, the whole point of having systems is so that you can increase the scalability of your mission. If you want to have a mission of productivity, you should want more people to experience productivity through you. Now, my mission is to help people. That means I want more people to be helped, or more people to participate and benefit from what I want to help them with. So every system is creating scalability, the ability to multiply, the ability to reproduce, the ability to expand, the ability to generate more in terms of sales, in terms of productivity. So that's systems. Now, Microsoft definitely has all these systems in place. They have a distribution system, they have an accounting system, they have a sales system, they have a marketing system, they have their research and development system. So everywhere, wherever these are happening, it is happening homogeneously. It is happening uniformly. Now that is the whole benefit of having a system where you can control how things happen within your mission, leadership, and team. So it is basically a control structure, or it is basically a structure that creates independence, where it is not dependent on one person. It is not going to collapse if one person pulls out. That's a system, and definitely they have that. Now, after all this, the next integrity that comes in is, it's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is communication. Now, communication, what do you think of communication from Microsoft? Are they communicating sufficiently or not?
Between team, is it?
See, I told you, communication is internal communication
Outside.
and external communication. So you have both kinds of communication. Internal communication is your team to leadership, leadership to leadership, team to team, right? So it can go in all directions. So team to leadership, leadership to team, team to team, leadership to leadership.
Yeah.
That's internal communication. External communication is how you communicate with your stakeholders, including your customers. Your customers are also your stakeholders, right? So there is communication at different levels, and that is where the product gets communicated. Now, the whole brand image that Microsoft has built, that the credibility that Microsoft has built, is based on this integrity, which is communication. Communication is everything that accelerates everything above that. All these are very strong points. Up to systems, everything is strong internal build-up. Your team is very powerful. Your leadership is very visionary. Your mission is far-reaching. Your product is resilient, strong. Your legal system is powerful enough to protect. Your systems are powerful enough, or your systems are resilient enough, rugged enough to make sure that there is no disruption in production, there is no disruption in research, there is no disruption in your product growing or your product reaching your audience. So there's distribution systems, everything is based on that. So until systems, everything is strong, which is building your ability to have a good product. Now, communication takes the message out to the world. Now, when communication takes the message out to the world, that is when people come to know about the product. People are aware enough to try the product. People are and that feedback is collected as part of the communication systems, and then that feedback is put into improving the product. Now, once all this happens, it is eventually building credibility on the product. So this communication can, when you launch your next product, which is also part of the same mission, when you advance, when you scale up, when you say, oh, Microsoft is now in your city as well, or Microsoft has put up their office in the IT capital of India, So when they say this, what is happening is that they are communicating something which is creating an additional market segment, an additional uh, goodwill, an additional ability to expand your market, an additional ability to set up more systems or more replicas of your system. So communication is going to take everything across to your audience, as well as between within your internal teams as well. Now, if you look at Microsoft, their communication channel is definitely one of the reasons why we know about the product. Their communication is effective because that is why we have come to trust this product. And their communication is effective because that is why when Microsoft comes out with a new product, we are able to we are aware of it and we are willing to try it. All this credibility is built on the communication, because the communication also, it has to be aligned to the mission. Everything that happens has to be aligned to the mission, and everything has to be uh, supervised by the leadership and by the team. Now this is where this is the communication part of it. Definitely their communication is quite effective, which is why it also talks about, okay, when we talk about the product, we should, okay, this is a part of the bigger study. When you talk about the product, you have to talk about your industry. You have to talk about give me a second, I will tell you exactly, because I had it written down in 2 days back. So you have to look at it in terms of, all right, not here, album, camera. All right. So once we have the, where were we? Okay. I was talking to you about
Some communication you were talking about. You were
okay.
checking something about some keyword.
Yes. So when it comes to product, okay, we are the subcategories or the subtopics under product would be, you have to see which industry, because you have the mission, right? So when you have the mission, you have the leadership and you have the team. The next thing that you want to know is, with the leadership and the team, what is the best way to achieve the mission? Or using this team and and with the vision of the leadership, what is the best way to achieve this mission? Now, Microsoft chose software as a product because they thought the uh, ability to achieve productivity would be best satisfied by their team and the vision of their leadership using software. So this is the route that they take. Now that is the industry that they get into. They get into the industry of software. Now, which segment? Now, this is another question. You can, if you want to get into cars, for example, this is one of my favorite topics, or this is one of my favorite examples. This is why I always choose this. But if you wanted to, if you think of cars and you want to decide which segment you want to get into, you can get into the Kia or the Hyundai segment, which is, or in India, you could get into the Maruti segment, which means you go into the lower end, less technology, less features, but less priced segment. So that is your segmentation, or you could go into the high end segment where you go into Jaguar, or you go into BMW, or you go into one of these top end cars, or you could go into the mid segment where you go into your Volvo, or you go into Volkswagen, or one of those kind of mid segment cars. But the question is, which segment are you going to focus on? Now, Toyota wanted to focus on three different segments. They wanted to focus on the lower end segment, they wanted to focus on the mid segment, and then they wanted to focus on the high end segment also. So they created three different brands. They created Daihatsu for the small car. Daihatsu doesn't have an engine which is more than 1.5 liters. Then they created Toyota, which is everything from 1.2 liters up to I think 5 liter engine in Toyota. And then they created another segment, which is the luxury segment, which is the Lexus brand. So they created three different segments. But every time you look at a product, you look at how your product is going to satisfy your mission. The first thing that you look at is, which industry does your product fall into? Which industry product would you choose to go into achieving this mission? The next thing is, which segment of product would you go into to achieve this mission? Then the third thing that you would look at is, who are you going to compete with? When you create the product, there are three things that you need to look into. One is the industry, the other is the segment, the third is, which is the competitor? Who am I going to compete against? What is the alternative? Because if you focus on the wrong competitor, then you will be far from achieving your mission. Now, competition, getting into talking about competition is a totally different story. So we will not discuss that today, or we will not take it up today, because that is a whole topic which is very interesting. This is a big puzzle. So every time we talk about the competition, it is a puzzle, and solving this puzzle is a big challenge in any industry, any segment that you get into. All right, so communication also includes, why I spoke about the product and the segmentation right now, is because the communication is also important, because it helps you decide what is the best way to communicate to your segment, what is the best way to communicate to your competition. It is not within the industry, you don't communicate within the industry so much, but yes, within the industry is also important, because Microsoft has to communicate with other players in the industry, but it also has to communicate with other players in its segment, and it has to communicate with its competitors as well. So communication, that's where communication is important. Let's look at the last one, which is cash flow. We don't need to discuss this about Microsoft at all, right?
Yeah.
Right. So looking at a live example, or looking at an example, or this is just, in quick summary, looking at something which has already created a mark for itself. There's some company which has already created a mark for itself in the industry, in the market. This is one way of looking at products. But of course, when you want to create your own BI triangle, when you want to go through all these integrities by yourself, you have to look more closely into each one of these, and also into each one of these from your competitors or from existing players in the same industry or in the same segment. Now, this is a lesson that has come to me after a long time, or it was a huge learning for me at one point of time, because I was not very focused on who my competition was, what my segment was demanding, what my industry was demanding, how what changes were happening in my industry. Rather, what I did was I said, this is my style, this is my product, this is how I want to deliver it, this is my system, and this is the kind of system that I want to develop. And I went ahead. But the result was very disastrous because I did not consider a lot of things which my competitors or other players in the same markets were playing, or I did not consider the changes that were happening in that industry, or I did not consider the changes that was happening in my particular market. So when something like that happens, the next thing that happens is your resistance to change. So when you create resistance to change within your organization, within your mind, then it inhibits your growth. It doesn't allow you to go forward. Instead, you start defending what you already have, what you've built up. And this is what happens to a lot of entrepreneurs uh, in a lot of times. And defending your mistakes is not going to take you anywhere. Now, the first and the most important uh, integrity of an entrepreneur is the ability to adapt to the change in circumstance while keeping the mission in place. As part of your mission, your product could change. Now, Microsoft product, if you look at it from the beginning until now, it has undergone a lot of changes. And that part of that change is that um, they have moved from they have moved in a lot of segments. Now, if you look at the first thing that they did, they started as operating systems for I believe they did not start as Windows operating systems. They started as something to do with stock market and stock software, something of that sort. I forgot the exact thing, but the point is they started in one segment, then they moved to a better segment, which was the operating system, because their mission said, we want productivity, we want to improve productivity for all. And the ability to improve productivity came by creating an operating system rather than working in a small niche segment like stock exchange. So now, because they created uh, an operating system, everybody could benefit from that, not just the stockbrokers or not just people who are interested in the stock market. Now, I'm not sure if the stock market information is correct, but I'm sure they started with something else apart from the operating systems. So that was a smaller segment. Now, operating system became a bigger segment. Now, after that, they have moved into softwares which improve productivity, but it is not operating systems anymore. They are systems which run on top of operating systems, or which supplement your ability, your capability in so they have gone through different segments and different product categorizations. Now, one of it was operating systems, basic operating systems. Then they went into server operating systems. They went into productivity tools like Microsoft Office. Then they went into even more specialized productivity tools like Microsoft Project. Everybody doesn't use Project, but for some people who do use Project, it is a productivity tool for them. Now, everybody doesn't need even Outlook or Access, so they created different product packaging within their product segments. They created, they categorized, they segmented their customers. They segmented their customers as home customers, small office customers, SMB customers. They categorize them as enterprise customers. Then they categorize them as educational institutions. They categorize them as government institutions. So they had different kind of models for each of these people, and they had different kinds of packages for each of these people. So they were specializing in the sensitivities of each market segment. Now, they did a lot of movement like that. They moved across segments, they moved across products, they moved across product categories, they moved vertically and horizontally. But ultimately, we can be assured that they continued their mission with every effort they made, every change they made, every modification they made in their product and their product segmentation and the categorization, competition, everything. They still maintain their mission, which is how integrity is managed. So this is how a BI triangle is formed. This is how we work on a BI triangle. Now, only the two of us.